And we're kicking off today with King and Queen of the Ring, where WWE Champion Cody Rhodes will face US Champion Logan Paul, but only Rhodes' title will be on the line. Despite WWE teasing that the match will be title for title, it was made clear on SmackDown that Paul will have nothing to lose in Jeddah, and why has WWE made this decision? On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was explained that WWE never intended for a winner-takes-all stipulation, but teasing it was an effort to get heat on Logan Paul. Exciting the fans about the prospect of a title for title, only for Paul to backtrack elicited heat, and on SmackDown, it was said that Paul's lawyers had drawn up a contract in his favor. But how do you feel about the match being for one title? Was it an effective way of generating heat for the Maverick? Let us know down in the comments. If you've followed the performer Sexyy Red on social media, you'll know she's quite the WWE fan, and just a few days ago was tweeting her support for NXT champion Trick Williams. Now, Red will have the chance to get up close with Williams and the NXT roster, as it's been confirmed that she'll be on the May 28th episode of the Gold brand. This announcement came after Red teased going to NXT and hopes to RKO somebody on the show, and on Twitter, Lola Vice dared the rapper to try and hit her with the move. Time will tell if Red hits the move, presumably out of nowhere, to Vice next week, but expect the rapper to certainly make an impact on the upcoming episode of WWE NXT. We've got news from Brandi Rhodes now, as she's currently recovering from surgery after being in pain for years, and now we know why she's been hurting. On Twitter, Rhodes said that Maurice's recent ordeal with serous borderline tumors led to her finally trying to find out why she's been in pain for so long. After many appointments, Rhodes found out that she's dealing with stage 4 endometriosis, which is the most severe form of endometriosis that there is. The condition leads to growths around the fallopian tubes and bowels, which cause great pain, and there may also be large cysts on the ovaries, uterus, and rectum. Fortunately, Rhodes has since had surgery and encouraged people to listen to your bodies, and we're wishing her a full and speedy recovery at this time. On WWE NXT this week, the show saw more qualifying matches for the Battleground ladder match that will decide the first women's North American champion. In the first match, Thea Hale took on Fallon Henley, and Hale had the might of Chase U on her side, but Henley had a unique strategy to deal with them. After Henley tried to use a steel chair, Ridge Holland stopped her, but the referee only saw him holding the chair and promptly ejected Chase U from ringside. In something of an upset, Henley defeated Hale, cutting the popular star from title contention, and Hale's night got even worse when Jasmine Nix appeared to deliver a beatdown. In the second qualifying match, OTM's Jada Parker defeated Brinley Reese, and post-match, Booker T speculated that Idris Enofe and Malik Blade at ringside might have turned the tide. Henley and Parker joined Sol Ruka and Lash Legend in the ladder match with 2 spots to be filled, and we'll have to see who qualifies for the ladder match at Battleground. But who do you hope to see become the first ever NXT Women's North American Champion? Let us know in the comments below. On this week's Raw, Dakota Kai and Kairi Sane were part of a fatal 4-way tag team match, and not only did the pair not win, but Kai was visibly bleeding from her face after the match. Raw certainly wasn't a good night for Damage Control, as Io Sky lost her Queen of the Ring semifinals match to Lyra Valkyria, and she suffered a bloody nose in the match. According to a report from Fightful Select, despite the visible injuries, both Io Sky and Dakota Kai were physically alright, which comes as a huge relief to fans of both women. It's unclear when exactly these injuries occurred, but it's great that neither woman is seriously hurt, as Damage Control will have to re-strategize after this latest setback of losses. Last week on Instagram, NXT General Manager AVA shared a photo of a poster that reads, "End Israel's illegal occupation of Palestine," referencing the ongoing situation overseas. The post sparked a huge discussion among fans and did not go unnoticed by WWE, as Ringside News reports that there was considerable backstage buzz within the company. Many backstage felt it was ill-advised, considering the company's Jewish ownership and her father's agent also sharing the same background. With that said, there's a prevailing notion in WWE that Ava is shielded from consequences because of her connections, and some feel she's in a position in WWE she hasn't earned. AVA started in WWE training to be a wrestler, but has since become the NXT GM, a role that guarantees her plenty of TV time and a role in prominent angles without having to take bumps. AVA's story initially raised some doubts, but the latest update has significantly clarified the situation, and given her position, it's highly unlikely that WWE will take any action against her. From one Johnson to another now, as The Rock is set to star in the upcoming Smashing Machine biopic on MMA fighter Mark Kerr, and this week, fans get their first glimpse of The Rock in the role. The film will see Rock's Jungle Cruise co-star Emily Blunt play Dawn, Kerr's wife, and the film will go into Kerr's MMA career as well as his personal demons. The A24 distributed film is certainly a different role than what the final boss is used to, and interest is high in how he'll bring Kerr's unique story to the big screen. Now on this week's Monday Night Raw, Sonya Deville made her long-awaited return when she appeared in a backstage segment with Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark. Deville had been off of TV for close to 300 days due to an ACL injury that ended her time as a tag team champion, but more has come to light about her comeback. Fightful Select reports that Deville's presence at Raw was not a secret backstage, which is what WWE has sometimes done to keep shocking moments from leaking in advance. Also, multiple sources in WWE that Fightful spoke to said that they didn't expect Deville to be back until mid-summer, so the former MMA fighter has made an impressive return. On Raw, Deville offered to speak with Baszler and Stark, but they refused and walked on before winning a shot at WWE's Women's Tag Team Championships. As for what role Deville herself will play in this title pursuit, time will tell, but it's great that she is finally back on WWE programming once more. Both Joe Coffey and Wes Lee were victorious in a triple threat involving Josh Briggs on this week's NXT, with a shot at the North American title on the line. Coffey was a last-minute replacement for Ivar, who was taken out last week with an attack by Gallus, and this week's bout saw Coffey and Lee simultaneously pin Briggs. Obafemi was at the commentary table for the match, and afterwards questioned what the result meant for him, with Ava saying it'll be a triple threat title match at NXT Battleground. Femi has proven to be a dominant champion, but with no champion's advantage, will he retain at Battleground, or will we see a new North American champion crowned soon enough? In recent weeks, Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler have been allies on WWE NXT TV, but it's safe to say that there have been tensions brewing between the two. At NXT Spring Breakin', Vice scored a win over Natalya thanks to an assist from Baszler, and since then, the pair have been united against the Queen of Hearts and Carmen Petrovic. In the main event of this week's show, Natalya and Petrovic got the win with the heart attack, and after the match, Vice turned on Baszler, but the latter wouldn't be easily beaten. Baszler caught Vice in the Kirifuda clutch as she tried to walk away, and the brawl that ensued was intense, prompting Ava to step in and announce a match for NXT Battleground. At the event, Baszler and Vice will face each other in an NXT Underground match, and with both having MMA backgrounds, expect a hard-hitting collision on June 9th. If you've been watching WWE closely as of late, you may have noticed Liv Morgan getting closer with the Judgment Day, especially the on-screen squeeze of Rhea Ripley, Dominik Mysterio. Liv and Dom were seen recently leaving the same room at a WWE event, and in a recent photo, Liv had what appeared to be Mysterio's bandana in her pocket. On a recent episode of the Masked Man podcast, Dominik was questioned about the rumors and understands why fans may think the pair are drawing closer. He said, "I mean, that's fair and I appreciate that, but I think at the end of the day, everyone is innocent till proven guilty, and I'm here protecting mommy, and I'm trying to make sure she's good when she comes back and that everything is all set in order. She comes back straight to the top, take her title back, no harm, no foul." In the interview, Dominik was also asked about a time when he may no longer be a part of the Judgment Day and said it'll never happen and that he's with the faction for life. Dominik may want to be in the group forever, but that may not be the case if Rhea Ripley believes that he and Liv Morgan are getting too close when she's finally back on WWE TV. Since arriving in NXT, Roxanne Perez has been hailed as a prodigy, so it's no surprise that the two-time and reigning women's champion is garnering major interest. While some predicted a call-up in the recent WWE draft, that did not happen, but it may not be long before she shares the ring with somebody from the main roster. During this week's NXT, AVA had a phone call with Raw GM Adam Pearce and SmackDown GM Nick Aldis regarding a challenger for Perez at NXT Battleground next month. The fact that AVA spoke with Pearce and Aldis certainly suggests that someone from the main roster will be involved, and fans will have to wait until next week's NXT to find out more. With the NXT Tag Team titles on the line, Tony D'Angelo coached Channing Stacks Lorenzo and Luca Crucifino for their opportunity against Nathan Frazer and Axiom. A brawl broke out ringside between No Quarter Catch Crew and the Family, and the distraction allowed Frazer to catch Stacks for a 3, ending a solid tag match without much drama. While Stacks was especially working hard to keep up, he and Crucifino are not title contenders by any stretch yet, and this match was more about building up the other angle on display. That being that the No Quarter Catch Crew is still going after the Family, and after the match, the OC laid out the champs, teasing a title match that should have already happened. Mr. Stone was around to introduce Lexis King's next opponent and possibly Stone's newest client, Dante Chen, who was able to get a small package after a distraction from Stone. Chen is WWE's first Singaporean superstar and first debuted for the Gold brand back in September 2021, and hopefully he is finally ready for the big time. With that said, this match was not a great start to his revival. As well as entrance promised action, he mostly got beat down until he snuck away with a pinfall. With Von Wagner gone, Stone needs a new project, and Chen certainly could use the help, but the truth is that Stone has a poor history of elevating talent despite his promo skills. After Noam Dar was attacked during a previous edition of NXT, Trick Williams declared that he didn't attack Dar and that sneak attacks aren't his style. Jakara Jackson and Oro Mensah of Metaphor both continued to blame him, but Lash Legend told them to stop, further teasing a relationship between Lash and the NXT champion. Joe Coffey made a surprise appearance to set up a Gallus beatdown, and while Javon Evans tried to make the save, he and Trick were both beat down. This was an absolute waste of time of a segment that made a poorly built title feud look even more chaotic, and it's hard to see NXT making sloppy mistakes with Trick as champion so far. Noam Dar hardly comes off as a threat to the champion, and it was Gallus, not Metaphor, who got the upper hand on the champion, despite Joe Coffey being in the North American title picture. While Joe said this attack would explain why he was interrupting the NXT champion and challenging for the North American championship, nothing was made clear by the end. NXT has too many talented wrestlers to overuse Gallus in multiple title scenes at the same time, and this whole segment felt like it did more harm than good to all involved. Over to AEW now, as this week's Collision will take place on Thursday, May 30th, and ticket sales for the show have been concerningly sluggish for Tony Khan. At this time, over 1,500 seats are remaining for a show that is set up to accommodate 3,686 in the Acrisure Arena in Greater Palm Springs, a venue that can hold a full 11,000 at full capacity. With just over a week to go, AEW has stepped up its efforts to sell tickets as a 2-for-1 offer has been launched with the hope that this will move a significant amount of seats. AEW has often seen fluctuations with their crowd sizes, and we'll have to see how much of a difference this makes for next week's taping of AEW Collision. And we're ending today with Giulia, who suffered a wrist injury during the first Marigold event that has seen all plans for her be put on pause for the time being. This injury could not come at a worse time for Giulia, who in addition to being a top star in Marigold, is expected to be joining WWE very soon after appearing at NXT Stand and Deliver. Fightful Select reports that despite this injury, WWE remains hopeful that Giulia will be healed in time for NXT Heatwave, but with the show set for July 7th, the clock is certainly ticking. WWE initially had big plans for Giulia at the event, with the report being that she'd be in a title match, either for the NXT Women's Gold or the Women's North American title. Now all those plans hinge on her being healed in time, and we'll continue to track her progress as the Japanese sensation's future looks uncertain at this time.